Welcome. Visit faithfullygrowing.com to connect with the Faithfully Growing community. As a member, you'll gain access to weekly drop-in Zoom sessions, a full library of resources and tools, and a weekly email with journaling prompts to support your IFS work, all for just $9 a month. While you're there, don't forget to sign up for my free IFS guided meditations. This podcast isn't just a source of meditations and insights. It's a community of people committed to healing and supporting one another. Whether you're here for your own journey or giving back to help others, you're what makes this all possible. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to Tim at faithfullygrowing.com. Welcome back to IFS Meditations and Insights. I'm Tim Fortescue, your guide on this journey. Together, we're here to foster spiritual wholeness and healing through an internal family systems lens. This compassionate space is designed to help you dive into self-discovery and inner knowledge. I truly believe that when we accept all parts of ourselves, we experience divine love and live more fully. I'm honored to be part of your path to inner peace and sacred connection. So settle in, open up your heart and mind, and let's begin another episode. Today we're looking into a topic that's deeply personal, yet universal: legacy burdens. These are the beliefs, emotions, or patterns that aren't entirely ours, but have been passed down through our family or cultural heritage. They shape how we see ourselves and interact with the world, often without us even realizing it. Let's take some time today to unpack what legacy burdens are, how they manifest, and how we can begin to release or transform them. Legacy burdens are those invisible weights we carry, sometimes without even realizing it. These could be beliefs about success and failure, emotions tied to family dynamics, or cultural expectations that shape how we live our lives. For example, a family may pass down a sense of scarcity, leading to an inherited fear of financial insecurity, even in times of stability. Or perhaps a cultural emphasis on perfectionism creates a persistent inner critic that feels impossible to satisfy. I remember a time when I began to recognize my own legacy burdens. Growing up, there was this unspoken rule in my family that being vulnerable was a sign of weakness. It wasn't something anyone ever said outright, but it was something I felt deeply. For years, I pushed myself to be strong, to take on every challenge without asking for help. It wasn't until much later, when I started doing parts work, that I realized this belief wasn't entirely mine. It was something that had been handed down, a survival mechanism from previous generations who faced hardships I could barely imagine. Acknowledging that helped me start to loosen its grip on my life. I began to notice how this belief influenced my relationships and daily choices, like avoiding asking for help at work or hesitating to share my struggles with friends or opening up with my household and most intimate family members. Over time, I practiced small acts of vulnerability, and it's still an ongoing practice for me. And this practice looked like and looks like admitting when I don't have all the answers, and finding not only did I feel more authentic, but I also build deeper connections with others. These shifts showed me how liberating it can be to release inherited burdens and embrace new ways of being. So how do we recognize these burdens? Here are a few reflective questions you can ask yourself. First, are there patterns in your life that seem to echo your family or cultural heritage? Maybe it's a belief like, I have to earn love, or an emotion like shame that feels deeply rooted. Another question could be, which parts of you are most affected by these burdens? Perhaps your inner critic is especially loud, or your anxious part feels like it's carrying a lot of weight. Then a final question, what physical sensations or emotions come up when you think about these burdens? Do you feel tension, heaviness, or resistance? During a family gathering a few years ago, I noticed how much tension I felt when certain topics came up, especially about work and success. My shoulders would tighten, and I'd find myself trying to justify my choices or achievements. And when I took a closer look, I realized I was carrying an old belief that my value was tied to how much I achieved. Recognizing that helped me approach those moments with more curiosity, less judgment. Releasing or transforming legacy burdens is a process, and it starts with connection and understanding. It's important to approach this journey with patience and self-compassion, recognizing that change takes time and every step forward is meaningful. Here's a step-by-step process based on the work of Anne Cinco, who I have really enjoyed learning from. And the first step of the process is to begin by recognizing the burden and even asking what percentage of this burden is a burden that my system carries and what percentage of it feels inherited. After you identify the legacy burden, engage your parts. Ask the parts holding this burden if they'd like to unload it. And take your time here. Don't rush this process. We can't. But check in if they have any reason to hold on to it and address their concerns with curiosity and compassion. For instance, you might notice a part expressing fear of what might happen if the burden is released. Reassure the part that you understand its concerns and explore whether it feels safe to let go, emphasizing that this process is about creating more ease for everyone involved. And then third, tap into your highest self-energy and the highest self-energy of your ancestors. When your parts are ready, from the most self-energy that you can move forward with and your highest potential, invite the parent or ancestor from whom this burden originated and their highest self. And extend this invitation to all ancestors, known and unknown, who are carrying this burden. And fourth, witness as much as needs to be understood and unblend. Ask yourself how you feel toward these ancestors. If emotions like judgment arise, pause and unblend from those feelings. If there are stories or emotions that need to be fully seen, allow space for that witnessing to happen. And then when witnessing has taken place and it makes sense to move forward, pass the burden back. Visualize taking the inherited burden out of your body and handing it back to the ancestor it came from. Reassure hesitant parts that this is not adding more weight, but simply returning the burden to its source. Encourage ancestors to do the same and continue the process down the generational line. When you reach the end of that line, the sixth step is to release the burden. When the burden reaches the end of the line, ask the ancestor at the end of the line to release it into a chosen element, perhaps a stream, fire, or earth. And then once the burden is fully released, invite qualities in. Ask yourself and your ancestors in that line, what qualities make sense or that you'd like to invite in now that the burden is gone. And let the ancestor at the end of the line take these qualities first and pass them forward to you. Notice how this feels in your body as you receive them. And then The eighth step is update your parts. Invite all your parts to witness this transformation and feel the effects of this unburdening. This might manifest as a sense of relief, a deeper connection to yourself, or a newfound lightness in your body. And then finally, the ninth step in this process, include any children that you may have in your life. If you have children, invite their selves to participate in this process, allowing them to unburden what they may have inherited and receive the new qualities. So as we wrap up, and I want you to know if you have parts that think that this process is different, it is. And let those parts know that may be distrustful or have questions, that their questions are valid. And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a few questions to reflect on this week. Are there burdens you carry that feel like they come from family or cultural heritage? Which parts of you are most affected by these legacy burdens? What might it look like to begin releasing or transforming these burdens into something that serves you better? Take time with these questions and remember to approach them with curiosity and compassion in all your parts regarding this unburdening of legacy burdens. But I will tell you, I've experienced it, and this is not a spiritual bypass. There is healing in this. There's hope. But it makes sense that there are some fears and some questions. And so spend time reflecting. There's no rush. Healing's a journey, not a destination. But I want to thank you for your courage in listening to this and spending this time with me today. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to reach out or share this episode with someone who might find it meaningful. Thank you again for your courage in joining me here. That wraps up another episode of IFS Meditations and Insights. If you found it helpful, please follow or subscribe. Share it with others and leave a positive review to help more people find the podcast. For more IFS Meditations and Insights, visit exploreifs.com. Thank you for being a part of this community. Remember to be compassionate with yourself and others. Until our next session, take care. Stay curious and do your best to embrace all parts of your journey. And I'll do my best to keep walking right alongside of you as I get to know and extend care to my parts too.